Rachel, this is such an intense movie for you. My goodness. What was it about Madeline or about the premise that really drew you to be a part of this?
Um, okay, so there are a ton of different reasons, but I was reading the script and this wasn't a direct offer thing. I auditioned for it and it was prime COVID time. So I auditioned for it by myself in my kitchen, which was super fun. But I read it and like I've said to most people, everybody's seen Succession. This is kind of like Succession. And Madeline is, she's the older company running, bitchy, kind of stick in the mud occasionally sister with her own designs on certain things. And I just thought this is very antithetical to who I am in real life. And I want to play a chick like this. I want to play this character. I mean, right now I'm in Kansas City. This is not my bedroom. This is a hotel room. I to think my bedroom is this boring. And I'm playing a kid sister, and I've never played a kid sister before. So I love to play roles that I haven't lived in real life. And certainly Madeline was one of them.
She's very buttoned up and straight laced, serious. Did they tell you, like, look to characters like Shiv from Succession and things like that for your inspiration to get in her mindset? Or was this just something you found on your own?
They didn't, the writing was so good. The script was so good. It sort of lilted into that kind of on its own. And Madeline's got, we made sure that she had those moments in the film of the slight vulnerability or the slight glimpse of maybe I didn't get all out of life all that I thought I would, or maybe I wish I had done things too, like those little moments. But overall, she's a hard ass, and she's, it was, yeah, again, it was just written so well. And especially in the ensemble format, everybody really had their own personality. Everybody's very different. Nobody's one note.
Yeah.
And it was just really enticing for me.
There's so much going on, and you have some great co-stars in this. Peyton List and David Walton. They all bring such different to their characters. It's amazing how you guys are related. Much like you talked about with Succession, they are all so different with their family dynamics. How did they describe Madeline then to you?
I mean, I don't remember I think they were very sort of loose in the description of her character in the audition, because they usually, they want you to kind of go with the flow and what you think, but it was impossible to not go sort of the Succession route. And Peyton, who I do have to say, she gave me the t-shirt I'm wearing right now, which says voting is Trey chic, because she was wearing it the first day I met her. And I didn't meet Peyton face to face until we were over 2 weeks into production, because those first 2 weeks were in quarantine and we were all in a hotel room by ourselves, a single hotel room. I was in one room, Peyton was in a room, Brianna was in a room, David's in a room, Austin's in a room. We're all separate. So I didn't meet her until we were out of quarantine. And she was wearing the shirt, I think that day or the next day. And I said, that is a great shirt. And when we wrapped, she gave it to me. She's amazing. And she's so sweet. And we're still friends. We still keep up with each other. She's the perfect kid sister. And she's great in the
I
film.
was just gonna say she's now your real life sibling at this point.
Yeah. And I just
Your real life kid sister.
oh. And we just got in a group with each other, and as very different people. David's kind of like aloof and as kind of as you would expect him, and I was so thrilled to work with Bob, because I know it's many years ago, but Shawshank Redemption is one of my favorite films of all time. I think it is one of the
Come on.
perfect films of all time. And he was so sweet, and he was so lovely, and he was great, and he was such a team player. And I was in awe of him. And he was very fatherly. He was, even though it's, I know, twisted and the whole thing that he gets us into, but
Yes.
his real life personality is very different from the father he portrays in the film. And that's what I love to watch. Was one minute we're sort of laughing on set and telling stories, and then the next minute, he's threatening
You're
our
trying to
life.
save your life. Yeah.
Yeah. So just
He's locked you into this mansion.
yeah. And then and then he's the most lovable guy you'll ever meet. And so that's one of the most fun things about my job, is you show up, you meet people, and you think, okay, I'm going to be spending maybe the next month, maybe the next 3 months, maybe the next 8 months with you. let's see what happens. And it ended up being quite prolifically perfect for all of us to be there and get along as well as we did, even amidst the pandemic and all of that. So I was very grateful for everybody and all the disparate personalities. We ended up getting along very well. So that was great.
There's such insanely thrilling moments to this entire film. You never know one minute to the next who's going to be a target, and you're levitating at one point. I
Mm-hmm.
can't. Was that the most difficult scene or one that challenged you the most when filming
Oh,
for this?
no. You want to know the most difficult scene? The most difficult scene without blowing a story point is the scene where I get, for lack of a better term, and this is putting it mildly, vomited on. I am claustrophobic. I am not good under the water. Having high pressure, power water lying while thrown in my face, whilst lying on my back, choking, screaming, the whole thing. That takes the cake. That takes the cake. There were other ones, sure. There's the levitation one. There's one where I get yanked down a hallway. The worst was the projectile vomit in my face.
How did you all shake off a long day of filming this? Clearly, everyone's not as intense and serious as they are in the characters, but you're at an adrenaline rush throughout the entire scene. Filming one moment to the next, you never know who's going to die, who's going to be attacked, what this being is that's coming after all of you.
Uh-huh. I mean, shaking off a day of filming is interesting and it's fun. And again, since we all get along, we go out to dinner. We were on a group chat and long day. We were shooting on Victoria Island in Vancouver, British Columbia, and it was great. It was walkable, great restaurants. We would all say, "Hey, I'm going to go out here if anybody wants to come." But yeah, it was always winding down. There was good, good for my character and practice. There was a great little pool hall that we frequented because I did need some practice with my pool skills to play Madeline. But yeah, there was a lot of just decompressing, having a glass of wine, having some good food, and going right back into it the next day. And obviously, with a film or with a TV show, or with anything, you shoot out of order. So that can also be very peculiar. Is, oh, we're shooting a death scene today, and then tomorrow we're shooting a scene where everybody's alive again and happy and nobody's dead yet. So, for me, I can't speak to anybody else, but for me,
Continuity is a big deal.
yes, it's a huge deal. So, I'd like to decompress at the end of the day, go home, get into bed, look over the lines for the next day, work on the material for the next day. I take copious amounts of notes in my script, and that would sort of wind me down. And then I'd like to get up early in the morning or earlier than my call, provided that my call or pickup time wasn't at 5 or 6. I'm not that early. But if it was 8, okay, I can get up at 6:30 and sort of get my mind focused and stuff like that. But I find that I need to hit a reset button after every day of work, because the next day of work is going to be something totally different. So you got to get rid of that day and go into it all fresh, like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because it's going to be, you could shoot the end of the movie that day, the beginning of the movie the next day, some crazy death, insanity in the middle. So you just have to start fresh sort of every day.
What do you think it is about The Inheritance? It's just going to make it such a fast fan favorite horror thriller. I think it's all of those elements that we've even covered already, but I'm curious what your thoughts are.
I think it's you never know what's going to happen. You're constantly surprised. You think you know what's going to happen. Something different then happens, but maybe it's kind of what you thought was going to happen. But then there's this family dynamic. And I also love the aspect of, well, who do you want? Who do you want to die? Like, which sibling do you want to, which one do you want to get rid of? I mean, because there's always that whenever, I mean, at least for me, like, who do you want to kick the bucket? Someone's going to kick the bucket. Who's going first? Especially in a thriller horror film like this. But I also love that even though there is this supernatural element to it, there's also a very grounded family dynamic, which, if you think of the success of Succession, and you think of that just sort of hierarchy in the family, and then you've got, in the case of of the inheritance. You've got the twins who run the business, and then you've got the brother who's him and his fancy wife, or well, not fancy wife, innocent sweet wife, run the charitable organ. Yeah, I'm saying that with, obviously that's not how Rachel feels about them, but that's how Madeline feels about them. You've just got this crazy family dynamic, and then you think about dad and what are his motives? Why is he doing this? Why is he calling this court? I think there's a lot of questions, and I think they can all be grounded in, half the questions are really about family dynamics and what would happen in this real family. And then the other half are supernatural questions, or kind of out of this box, out of this world kind of questions, but you still want answers to all of them, and you get them in the film. So I think it's literally the number of questions that's going to make it a hit, because you ask a question in your mind and you have no idea actually what's coming.